Hi, here's the #1 tip I can give you to make your writing better, more alive, more engaging, and that is get people talking. Get dialogue in here. You probably like it a lot when you are reading books and stories that have dialogue. Well, you want to give it a try yourself. To make it effective, you have to get the rules down, otherwise people aren't going to understand what you're trying to get across with dialogue, and that's what this tutorial is about. So let's start off by seeing what you know and what you need to learn. I want you to write down these sentences. It's a dialogue between two people, one named Bob, one named Mary. Okay, you ready? Here goes. "Hi," said Bob. "Hi," said Mary. "How are you, Mary?" asked Bob. Mary said, "Today, Bob, I'm fabulous." Bob thought, this is a thrilling conversation. Alright, so write that down as precisely as you can, getting the punctuation, the quotation marks, all those little things as much in place as you can. If you've done that and you're ready to go on, then here's what it looks like. Okay, so let's go through this, and there will be six different rules that I'll give you. Starting with kind of something that seems obvious, but worth pointing out, and that is make sure you use quotation marks when people are speaking. Whatever comes out of someone's mouth has to be in quotes, and these are pairs. See that? They come in twos, not one. So anything that's spoken has to be in quotes. Now let me take you down to this strange situation. What do you do with thoughts? Well, you do not use quotation marks unless the thoughts are spoken aloud. But if they are just thoughts, no quotation marks. Alright, you'll notice this is capitalized. I'll say more about that in a moment. On to #2, which is that you want to indent your paragraphs whenever you switch speakers. New paragraph when you switch speakers. Alright, so here we have Bob speaking and then Mary speaks, so you need a whole new paragraph. Then we get Bob going again and then Mary. These are 5 different paragraphs going on here because we keep switching speakers. Really crucial. Once again, when you change your speakers, you have to change to a new paragraph and you indent those paragraphs like you would any paragraph. Rule #3, use some kind of punctuation to separate what is spoken from who is saying it. Here it's a comma, and usually it will be a comma, but sometimes it's a question mark. You need some kind of punctuation to separate what someone is saying from who is saying it. And rule #4, notice that right after that punctuation, this letter is not capitalized with asked or said. The major problem people have is with the asked. It appears like it should be a whole new sentence, but no. Asked Bob is so closely related to what is spoken that you don't want a whole new sentence. So once again, keep this lower case. Next rule, when someone starts to talk, make sure that it is a capital letter that starts their dialogue. Now in this case, you're starting a line, so the more confusing moment is this one here. But even if it were something as basic as Bob said, "Huh?" you would capitalize the H in huh. Now this takes me down to the thought down here. Notice that this is capitalized. That's right, it looks kind of strange, but that's the modern way of doing it, that you capitalize that first letter of thought. And finally, notice these commas here. These are called the direct address comma because Bob here is directly addressing Mary by name. So you want to separate that with a comma. Same back here. Mary is directly addressing Bob by name, separate with commas. Now this is really important, so important that I want to emphasize it here. So once again, this is called the direct address comma, and I want you to write down these two sentences so you can practice it a little bit. Mary said, "I like you, Bob." Bob said, "In that case, Mary, let's get married." It's a romantic story. Okay, you have that down. Pay special attention to all the little commas and quotes, and this is what I hope you have. Now, in addition to all the other rules we've learned about dialogue that I hope you have correct, let's pay attention right here to this comma, the direct address comma. Mary here is directly speaking to Bob, calling him by name, so you want that comma in here. And the same over here, Bob is directly addressing Mary and actually addresses Mary in the middle of his sentence. So there's a comma here and a comma here. The direct address comma, really very crucial. You don't think it's important? Well, think about this. What if you heard sweet Katie say, "Let's go eat Grandma," Katie said. Well, what is Katie? Is Katie a cannibal, or is Katie just a naive young girl who doesn't know her grammar yet, her punctuation yet? If there is no comma here, Katie's in trouble. But if there is, right here, the direct address comma, "Let's go eat, Grandma," Katie said, then it's just a question of getting the comma correct there. Okay, to close out here, let me just give you a few more sentences to write down and see how you're doing with all these 6 or 7 different rules with dialogue. Here goes, write these down. "What time is it, Tom?" asked Jerry. Tom said, "Get a watch, Jerry." Jerry thought, "My friend sure is testy." Okay, you have that down? Here's what it should look like. And here it is, simple sentences that really embody a lot of things we've been learning here. Okay, let me run through them. Things like, you want to make sure you have quotes around all the things spoken, except if it's a thought. Make sure you indent your paragraphs, and you want to switch paragraphs when you're switching speakers. So in this case, 3 separate paragraphs. Remember important things like this direct address comma, things like capitalizing the first letter of quotations and the first letter here when it's a thought set up this way. Words like asked are not capitalized, the letter there, even though it comes right after the question mark. And that's about it. So lots of little rules that are at work here that are really important to get down. Okay, and so I hope this helps you out with dialogue, learning all these rules, because you really want to get down, you really want to master the rules of dialogue. Dialogue will help your writing so much, but only if you have the rules down that will help your reader understand what you're trying to get across. Okay?